Welcome to Unfiltered. We are here today. It's
Yes.
Heidi and I are here. We're very excited that we're here. And we have Trisha, who is not here with us. We're just, hello, Trisha. We love you so much.
Air kiss.
We love Trisha. She has
Yes.
decided to pursue some other things, and we are so excited for the opportunities that she has coming up in her life. And she will
Yes.
be dearly missed.
Yes.
And we are very, very just happy to see where the doors open for her in the future. So
Yes. Trisha, I wish you nothing but the best and success in all the dreams and ventures that you currently have on your plate. So.
Yep, and come back and visit us anytime.
Yes, please.
And we'll have a flat Trisha if you can't make it. So I love it.
Let them take me as far as they want to go. And it's time for me to say, they won't break me, I'm braver than I know. I was made for this. Oh, such a time as this.
All right, well, today we are actually starting off. I've been so looking forward to this, but we're starting
Good
off
topic.
our May series. So for all of May, for anybody that doesn't know, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. And I think that this is one of the most relevant, one of the most important,
Yes.
crucial topics that we talk about right now. And I don't know of anybody in the world that's not dealing with some form of that, whether it's
I agree.
themselves or somebody close to them or somebody that they know in their life. So
Yeah.
I'm
I love that we're talking openly about these topics.
I love that we can just talk about it. And I think
Yes.
that you really, really nailed it on that, because I think that most of the problem is that it has been taboo. It has been not talked about. It has been,
You're supposed to
like
be
we talked
fine.
about last week, it's been shoved under the rug.
Yes.
And it has to be talked about. You
Openly.
have to be able to talk about it.
There is no shame in depression. And I'm saddened that people feel that it's necessary to put on that facade of, I'm fine, as you're trying to go through the motions of life. But inside, you are just dying and desperately needing something.
Right.
But you wander around just in this facade trying to be like,
fine.
it's good,
I'm fine.
until you walk in your door at the end of the night and you're not
Right.
fine. And we need to make it not only okay, it should be the norm that it's talked about openly
I agree.
and shared. I had an interesting class last night that we were at, and we had a guest speaker that came in, and something that they said struck me. They said as long as they kept everything here, just inside and in their head, and sat with it, it became this thing that just grows and grows and
yeah, you
grows.
can't see around it.
They said as soon as they stepped out and they spoke it to somebody, they said it started to lose some of its power. And it's like, because somebody is carrying the weight with you. So
Right. Helping you with it.
that's how it should be, but it's not. So let's
not.
talk about it.
Let's talk about it. And when you and I were talking before we started, this is relevant for me right now. This is relevant for me currently right now. No, but it's really, really relevant for me. And I very recently in December, I released a video explaining my journey with depression and anxiety and just the struggles that I've gone through.
Yes.
And I came to this realization that last May, right in the middle of while I was filming all of these,
So like a year ago.
I started filming all of these like daily, kind of encouraging. I was very open with things. I feel like it was kind of a precursor to what we're doing now. And I said, I'm going to do this every day for the month of May. And depression had another idea, and it stopped me dead in my tracks. And again, it was like outside forces. Something, another disappointment had happened in my life. I don't handle disappointment very well.
I don't either.
And it sent me spiraling. And so again, my focus was on everybody that I was trying to reach. And then all of a sudden it was almost like I put my horse blinders on and I was like, oh no, this is all about me.
And that's all you see
I focused
then.
all on me, and I just went farther and farther and farther and farther down into the rabbit hole, and I get stuck very deeply in rabbit holes.
Yeah.
I can liken it to when I play Minecraft with my kids, and I accidentally dig myself into a hole, and I'm just stuck in the hole, and I can't get out of the hole, and I'm just staring up at the sky, and I'm like, I'm in a block here, help me out. And then I can't see anything other than myself. I can't help anybody other than myself. And so, like you were just saying, you
Yes.
know, it becomes this thing that is so blinding that we can't see around it.
And I think it tends to just envelop everything in life. It's like that darkness starts to creep out in everything it touches. It's like this sinkhole.
It is.
And it gets pulled in. And I've had my own significant battle with, I'm over on this side of it, but I can say also, and I think this goes with this topic, it can be really difficult as a friend who loves their friend dearly, like I love you, to know that you were hurting as much as you were. And the awareness of that, it hurt me to see such sadness and the heaviness on you. And it's sometimes the only thing I know to do in some situations is just continue to be present and there. Yeah,
That's all we
people
can do
can't-
sometimes.
Yes.
That is all we can do. We were just having that conversation the other night. You know, what do you do when you have a friend that is in a very, very deep depressive
Right.
state? You just let them know that they're there, that
Yeah.
you're there for them. You can't fully get them out of it.
Sometimes
Yourself,
you have to
you
even
can't.
climb down and sit with them in
Sit with them in that,
that
darkness.
pit that they're currently in. Not to the point where you yourself get stuck down
Right.
in there, because then you're no help to your friend.
Right.
Don't wait for them to come. One of my least favorite things is that super popular post that gets thrown around. It's like, my number is, I'm always available to you. You can always call me if you're having a hard time. People that are in the pit don't do that. They
will
don't
never.
reach out.
No.
They don't. And I know, again, to everybody that's done that, I know that it was done with the best of intentions.
Yes.
I never reached out. I desperately needed people willing to come to where I am. So I understand what they meant by it. But when I read it and I'm sitting in that darkness, I'm like, it was just more like, I'm not picking up a phone to call somebody. And you need to go to them. If you start to see those signs, just and sit with them. Don't be afraid of silence sometimes. Just be present.
Right, because you can't solve their problems. You can't fix the problems.
No.
You can't completely take it away. But to know that you're not sitting in that pit alone is an amazing feeling.
It's
and
huge.
And then I feel like when somebody's sitting with you in that, you grow stronger. And
without a doubt.
you don't feel isolated and lonely, and you know that you're loved and cared for. And so then you can start to build up inside of you
Yep.
tiny little strength. Because when you're in that pit, getting out of bed should be applauded. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know.
Like,
People don't understand.
yes, people have these expectations of, oh, I've been depressed and I shouldn't be, and blah, 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 and all of this. And, you know, they think, oh, I have to accomplish all these things in a day.
I know.
I have been in the spot where I've gotten out of bed and I'm like, I got out of bed.
I got out of bed.
I did it.
I
I got out of bed. I came downstairs because my bed is like, my husband just said this to me, I think on Sunday or Saturday, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I got upset by something and I retreated, and I was in my
It's a
bed. I was
safe
in my
place.
safe spot. That was where I was.
It's funny you say
And-
that. I find myself, I do the same thing. And I
Yeah.
had never really
Yeah.
thought about it. I cocoon myself in.
So that, because it's away from my family, it's away from everybody else. I can go up there, I
Yes.
can cry, I can just be, I can put the blankets over my head and just,
I
you know.
know.
So coming back to get myself
leave
out of
that
that
is
spot
huge.
isn't like waking up in the morning and hopping out of bed. It's an intentional act of saying, I'm not going to keep myself in this spot. This spot is not helping me get out of this spot. You know, like,
I
and
do.
that's-
I
and
do.
And because for me, I don't know about for you, but when I get into a depressive state, I almost instantly go into despair.
Oh, mine is, it's like from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
I am just
Yes.
defeated.
Yes, defeated.
I go to
Yes.
complete defeat, and everything becomes a battle of will to do something.
Yep.
You need to, it's time to eat now, Heidi. So
Right.
go fix a meal. It seems to be a lot of work sometimes that, or I've caught myself at times, there's laundry to do, and I've dissolved into a blubbering, sobbing mess because I literally couldn't decide which load should I start with. Like, that's so important.
Right.
But in that moment,
It's huge in that
it
moment.
was a decision. And just that just brought some to mind. I wonder if in those moments, if you can't think of that thing to really help, maybe try to see if there's ways to take less choices
I like
off the
that.
table
Yeah.
that they may have to make. Trying to get, your brain is just trying to get back to a more healthy mindset. And then you
Right.
get bombarded all of life's normal things, and it becomes a series of choices, decisions, and actions you have to make. Somebody that is just going through it, there's no reserves there to draw from to make it. The worst thing you can do is like, oh, come on, you can do it. It's easy. It's just laundry. Because it just pulls that rug right
Yeah.
under. Because we know that. We know how easy it should
In
be
our
to do
logical
laundry.
brains,
We
when
do.
we're not in the state of,
Yes.
of craziness or mania
Yes.
in our brain, yeah, of course, it's
Yes.
just laundry. But in that moment, it's so much
It's-
more than that.
It is not
It is.
easy, those things.
And that brings up a good point, because a lot of times there's two different things I wanted to say. People that do not have depression or have never dealt with depression in their life or have gone through a depressive season, right?
Right.
So something happened, they went through a depression. Not people that deal with chronic depression. Those are two totally different
Very,
things, right?
very different.
So-
Depression, there's different, and I'll get
There is.
back to that.
There's
There's
different
so many
levels
different
of it.
types.
So for somebody that has not dealt with it themselves, and they just in their logical brain, they cannot fully understand why you are a puddle on the floor.
I know,
They
they don't.
just can't get it. The best thing from my experience for those people to do is to just listen. Do not try to fix the problem, or ask the person, do you just want me to be here with you right now?
Right.
Or do you want me to try to help you to try to
Yes.
solve this? Right. So ask them those questions.
Don't
'Cause
make
most
that
of the
decision for
time,
them.
It frustrates me to no end when I'm way down below the pit. Like I've made the pit in my own pit, you know?
Yes.
And then somebody's trying to fix things. And I'm like, that doesn't help. That's not a solution.
not.
That's not,
Just sit here. And
if I'm
just
running out of money and I don't have any money to pay for whatever it is, going to get a job as a server at a restaurant that we're sitting at having this conversation is not a solution. You know what I'm saying? Like, so just listen instead. And it just, because as humans, we always say the wrong thing. We know, and we don't mean to.
I know
Nobody
people
means to.
mean well, but it's so important when you have someone in your life that you care deeply for, and they are in that pit, they're in that battle just to get out of that depression again. You just saying that, I'm like, everything in me is just cringing, like, oh no, that's
Yep.
not helpful, not a solution, not an answer, especially for people who are trying to get up, get dressed, and brush your teeth, because that's 3 things. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
It can be so very much. And now your solution is, well, just get yourself a job right here. Hop up out of bed and come in here and serve all these people that are going to get mad
You're like,
at
wait
you
a minute,
for
I've
getting-
skipped 20 steps in between,
I
you know? And
know.
it's not every day, too. Like,
Exactly.
Some days you can just go about life.
Yes.
And you get up and you do things and you don't even think about it.
Yep.
And other days, for literally no
crippling.
reason at all, you get up and you're like, why do I have 12 blankets on top of me and I can barely move? You know,
I
like,
know.
what is that? Some of it is tied to hormones for women. Some of it is tied to moon cycles. I mean, there are a lot of
many
things
that affect us.
that if you're already susceptible to that, it's
Yes.
going to affect you.
Our
If you're an
winters,
empath, like empaths deal with it so much more because they pull, I am too.
To a
like
fault.
we pull other people's, and I find myself, having to be like, don't absorb that negative energy.
know.
Don't absorb it, and I
know.
just, because I do, it's like
I
glue. It just sticks to me.
worried over you because the work the work you were doing on what you were creating was absolutely phenomenal, like mind blowing in how good it is. But man, the subject matter is dark. It's heavy. It's
is.
not pretty.
Yep.
And when your world gets immersed in that and you have an added struggle where depression is a friend you really don't want, but they're always there.
Yep.
That's like a double whammy. It's like trying to protect yourself from all that that is what you have to immerse yourself into because of what you're creating.
Right.
Oh,
Right. So the other thing I was thinking is depression doesn't make sense. Depression doesn't have logic to it. And
Right.
to me, logic and depression are two completely opposite things. Depression is fully emotional, is fully, all of that.
yes.
And so from somebody outside looking in going, well, why is she depressed? Like, she's got a great life. She's got a great husband. She's got 3 amazing children. She's got a beautiful dog and a beautiful house and all these things, right? So,
Yes.
and that is something that I think as a society, we need to have so much more grace for.
Yes.
Because it doesn't have to make logical sense. It
Right.
doesn't have to. This is something I personally have struggled with for as long as I can remember. My mom always said, you don't have a gray area. You're either black or you're white. You're up or you're way down. Like there was, I don't just
I think that's
be.
why I'm like, I
there's no
found somebody
being.
that I get.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
because I'm way here,
Yep.
way here with,
And I keep saying
just
these
passed
words,
through the
and
center.
I say it to this day. I just want to feel normal. I
Mm.
just want to feel like, and this is what I say, and I'm not kidding. I just want to feel like everybody else who can just get up, because the whole world in my brain, at that
yes.
moment, the whole world can function just
oh,
fine.
yeah, they're all
except
doing
for me.
just great.
Yes.
Absolutely
Yeah.
great. It's only me.
And I just
it's-
keep saying, I just want a day, and I just want to feel normal. But
what is that?
normal? And how in the world, in any measurable sense, could we ever say to somebody else, well, you're normal. I think I would like to be like you, because there's no way for us to ever know what's in the other person's mind.
You don't. And you don't
never
know.
Even super
what
open,
happens.
authentic relationships, you still don't know fully.
You don't.
And so that standard that I'm looking for or I'm measuring up to or I want, is it like a television thing? Like, oh, they just get up and I'm like, well, yeah, because that was what was in the script right then. They didn't have anything to deal with right at that moment because everything was just done for them and
if only
handled.
it was scripted, that'd be perfect. So
Yes.
hand me my life script so I know what's going to happen. And
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
if only it worked that way. But I think it's the hard thing about depression. And I think especially for women, because we do have the hormones and the monthly stuff. I mean,
Yes.
all of it. And then you throw in this cloud, heavy, dark storm cloud of depression. And we live in this fast-paced society where it's go, 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 go.
Perform, perform.
We're not
Yeah.
wired to operate like that. But I talk with my husband a lot. It's like, I don't think that technology and social media has done us any favors. And there's such an impossible expectation on people already. So you don't even get the luxury of time to deal with self in that self-care and keeping yourself healthy, because then you're like 50 steps behind where life already is.
Right.
So nobody stops.
We weren't designed to keep up with the pace
No.
that there is these days.
No.
At all. I mean, that is something that, kind of the Industrial Revolution and all the technology age and
Yes.
all of that has sped everything up. but we're still the same humans
I
that
know.
they were back then, and
I
we're
know.
trying to add, kind of adjust to all of this. And
Right.
it's mind boggling. And I think when you were saying about, women and what we deal with, I'm thinking about like 10-year-old girls, which is the average age right now is about 10 for them to start their periods.
Yes. It's getting younger and younger and
And
younger.
even prior to that, so you go back about a year before that and everything starts flowing, right? So the
Yes,
hormones start
hormones.
going and all of that. So now they're dealing with all of this, but then, and this is why we didn't let our kids have social media till 13. And because they're just not old enough. Like I see some of these 10, 11, 12-year-olds. That's the group I want to work with so bad right now, are these tweens,
Yes.
They have access, and I'm not judging anybody for anything, just letting everybody know.
Yes.
But when they have access to the social media and they have access to all these accounts and they're influencers at 11 or at 12. So say they, their moods are now tied to their hormones. They're tied to anything that happens at school.
Yeah.
They're tied to sleep patterns and, nutrition things. But then also
Do they
their
like
mood goes
me?
way up. I got a new like. I got a new
we
like.
can look at all our followers.
Oh, somebody,
and
I didn't. This one only got this many likes. I must suck. Like I must
It's
be awful.
just
So it's literally
so
tied to
sad.
all of that. And I'm thinking, middle school's awful anyways.
Oh,
Prior to all of that, and then
I
we
know.
have to deal with our lives have the potential to be on camera at any time.
all the time.
Anywhere that you are. Oh, I got that on film. Oh, I got that.
I'm so glad we didn't have that when I was growing
I would have
up.
been in very, very big trouble.
I might have
If there
been
was-
kicked out of church a lot sooner if that. No,
I might have had a lot of legal ramifications.
same. I
younger.
know.
I did I ran outrun the cops one night though, and
I did once too.
yeah, they didn't get me. All
No.
because I tripped and this guy picked me up and we kept going.
Yes. Oh yeah, I remember that.
Oh yeah,
scatter
I would have
just-
definitely been a 14-year-old sitting in juvie.
But yeah, these girls though, and I just think of them and at this age, and then those hormones kick in. They're not prepared for all that. It can cause behavior like outbursts or things like that. So how often are they being punished instead of just sit here and talk with me?
Yes.
So now it becomes if I act that way, I'm going to be punished. So what do? You learn how to fake it.
Yep.
I'm going to learn not to act that way because, well, I'll get punished. I don't know why I'm this mad about this. I just don't know.
Right.
We need to back up, sit down and talk to them, talk with them, and try to
And
get to the
listen.
underlying. Yes.
Listen, that's so huge.
I'm glad you said that.
It's so huge.
Listening.
I think quite often as parents, we feel as though we should speak. We feel
Yes.
as though we should constantly be teaching and training and coaching and all
Right.
of that. But we have to make
got to
sure that
listen.
we're listening. Mm-hmm. And again, sitting with them in that space. Mm-hmm. Quite often in my own children's lives, I found myself just sitting. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we talk and sometimes we don't.
But
and
you're
sometimes
present.
it's just, we're just next to each other.
Yes.
And the funniest thing, which I used to judge it in my mind, right? It's funny how we change our minds. But so say I was sitting next to my son and we're both playing on our phones, looking at two different things.
Yes.
But we're so close that our shoulders are touching.
There's-
like we have like
present
physical
together.
contact and we're sitting there and then every once in a while we're like, oh, check this
I
out. We'll look at this.
know.
Or that
You're still
is
engaging.
valuable
Yes.
time.
It is.
And I used to look at that and be like, oh my gosh, it's such a waste of time. Like I can't even believe. But you know what I'm saying?
You were
I found myself judging that.
Yes.
Instead of enjoying that.
that
you
they
know,
were willing to
meeting them
sit
in that
side
space.
by side with you. It doesn't have to be this big, long, drawn out
No.
conversation. It's just showing them time with you is worth it to me.
Right.
Just being here, no matter
Right.
what we're doing, we're close, and that's
I
a
think-
great thing.
I think showing our kids, and this kind of is a double-edged sword in my brain, but so my kids all know that I deal with depression.
Yes.
I wear my emotions on my face. So there's like my whole body talks, but there's no hiding it from them.
Right.
They know even in my most very, very recent, like at the end of March, deep depression that I went into and I didn't get out of bed for like 3 days really.
Yeah.
They see that, right?
Yes.
And so yes, show your children that this is what you deal with, right? But the double-edged sword of that is then be careful and talk to them and make sure that they know that it's not their fault.
Absolutely.
You know, that they haven't done anything wrong. This is something that I handle.
Important.
Because quite often it's genetic. Quite often it is passed on.
That is true.
And so maybe by showing them, and I am not a doctor, but maybe by showing them.
Do you play one on TV?
Sometimes. But maybe by showing them that you deal with that,
yes,
they can then recognize, oh my gosh, I'm dealing with that too. Wait, maybe she understands how I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm. It makes it less frightening for them too when things are all over the place and they don't know why.
Yes, I agree. You know, so like last week when we talked about shoving everything under the rug and everything for appearances wise had to be all perfect and pristine and great and all of that. So have those healthy conversations with your children.
Yes.
And own it. You guys, I deal with depression. I deal with anxiety. These are the things, like when you're in your right mind, obviously not when you're sitting in the pit, you know, but when you're in your right mind, take a moment
here and let's talk about that
and say, I don't have everything figured out. I'm doing the best that I can.
Yes.
I really am doing the best that I can. And I find myself coming out of the pit for my children quite often because I don't want to just sit in there and miss out on that time.
Good, because humans need that also. Something has to draw them to break that.
It is a break, and that's exactly what it is. Have you ever felt that?
Yes.
The break is the perfect word for it because you're in this bloop, and then all of a sudden, and then you're like, oh, I can focus, I can talk, and then you're fine. And for the people around you, they're like, oh, what just happened? You know,
is her head gonna spin next? Is it?
But that is the exact way to describe it. It is
like the
moment,
fog lifts,
and it goes, and you're like,
and you see.
Okay, I just cried for the past 5 hours and now I'm totally fine.
I could see
Check
better
me out.
once I can open my eyes, but they're puffy. But
oh yeah. Oh, and I'm a woman, so you know. And I think that yes, women do deal with this, but I think we also need to address the fact that men deal with this
they
too.
Sure do, and they
I think
talk
it's
about
harder
it
for them.
way less than we do.
Right, because they always have to be seen as the oak tree, as the strong one, as, you know,
the provider, nurturer, take care of.
Yes. But
and
men
who takes care of them?
struggle with it. And I feel as though like the suicide rates are higher among men because they're not allowed to talk about it. They're not allowed to have feelings and emotions and all of that. And so I feel like that needs to become more normalized.
I am going to say a huge yes to that because two dear friends of ours don't have their sons here anymore. They were both high school seniors and they both ended their life during COVID. Both of them, both boys, and another friend whose daughter nearly was successful. And the weight of that wasn't lost on me. Our kids are desperate for help. This world, I mean, it's chaos for adults. It's chaos for kids. Their brains aren't done developing and everything is changing. They've got the hormones. They're trying to grow up. They're trying to get through school, trying to figure out what life is going to be. And our kids really need good adults around them that want to take that time with them to understand, but to help them know what depression signs are, what that can look like, that this is a normal thing to go through when you're depressed. And so they're not afraid of it. I had the opportunity to speak to a group of kids at, there's like this horse ranch out near Lowell, and they have a group of kids that come in from various different backgrounds and stuff like that. So they come in and they get to interact with these horses. They learn grooming. They learn the basics of all the tack and how to saddle them and bridle them. They are taught riding skills and all of these things. And it's a beautiful program. But part of it is just kind of like hang out as a group and let's just chat and talk. And my husband and I were invited to go there and talk with this group of kids. And I absolutely loved it. But we had the hardest time trying to get them to engage. That part didn't surprise me. I asked one question and everything changed. And I don't even know where the question came from. It's not something I thought about before, but now I can't let go of it. I'm literally sitting in my head thinking, what can I say that will get them to open up or
Right.
to engage with us? And I literally just said, what is it that you need us as grown-ups to know about what it's like growing up now?
I love that.
And it was remarkable. It's like they kind of looked at me like,
Wait, you care about that?
and I literally, I told them, I said, I ask you this because I really want to know. I really want to understand. And I said, it was hard when I was growing up, when I was your age. I don't know how I got through it. I said, I cannot comprehend everything that bombards you all the time. So help me, share with me, tell me. And they did. All of a sudden,
That's
one
awesome.
started, another started. One girl literally just started sobbing and talked with us afterwards and just said, this was the most amazing thing. I have been battling with depression so bad. And she said, just talking about it. And you didn't judge me or laugh at me or anything. And it just really taught me that don't overlook these kids. Talk to them. But more importantly, like you said, be prepared to listen. But ask them that question. What do you want to tell me? What can you share with me? Tell me about growing up now. What's the hard things? What's the great things? And see what they have to say, but be willing to hear it.
And learn. And
yes.
absolutely. And absorb it. And
Yes.
then maybe interact back with them about it. That
Yes.
you're actually listening to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It made such a profound difference. And the leader of this group is like, I don't know how that happened. And he said, we've never had it where they were talking like that.
But again, you asked the right question.
Yes.
You know, and
engage and
you
show
made
interest.
it about them like that, and it all about them,
Right.
Not about their problems, not about their depression, or you made it relevant to
Yes.
them,
Yeah.
because we can't expect things that worked for us in our generation, or things that worked for our parents' generation, or even the generations in between. You know, like I'm Gen X, my kids are Gen Z, but there's millennials right in between. You know, so
Yes.
there's no way that I can say, well, this is how my parents parented me, and this will work for you guys. No,
I know.
It's changed even in the 20 years that I've been parenting. You know what I'm saying? So
It is
things change.
shocking to me, the difference even in the world that my older children grew up in the world my grandkids are growing up
Right.
in. It is just like mind-boggling to me. I mean, that my 5-year-old grandsons are on a computer and running it like it's nothing. And I'm like, well, when I was in high school, we started taking computer classes, and to even get the thing to start, I had to program the stupid thing.
Yeah.
Like I swore off computers saying nobody's ever going to use these. These are ridiculous.
I remember I went to Amsterdam in 99. I was a senior at Calvin, and I went to Amsterdam, and they had this.
You went to Amsterdam when
I did go to
when
Amsterdam.
you went to Calvin. I hear that. That's
Yes, there are
interesting.
lovely coffee shops there.
That's what I hear.
Yes. So we went to this international school, and they had these little 2-year-olds, right? Little. I mean, they were so tiny. And I remember they had their hands on the mouse, right? But their hands were so tiny that they had their fingers like all the way up at the top of
Yes.
the mouse like this.
Yes.
And it was so profound to me that these little 2-year-olds were
Yes.
using the mouse. And I was like, I've never seen anything like that
like it.
before. And now I'm like, well, like 6-month-old kids can like work tablets and stuff now. So yeah. Anyways, but yeah, that was a fun digression.
But I think it kind of plays into it because as you're saying this, I'm like, why do 2-year-olds need to have that skill? Mm-hmm. Why do preschools have to have a waiting list like before they're even born?
Right.
Why all that pressure?
Yes.
We're building a society that's, we're prepping them to be massively depressed.
I just had this whole conversation with my daughter. We were watching anime. It's like my new favorite thing is the Spy Family, not Spy X Family. Apparently, it's just Spy Family.
Okay.
So we've been watching the show. Hilarious, like so wholesome, so funny,
Good.
just like giggling. We're giggling
Love
at this
it.
show, right? But in the show, they have to get their daughter into this prestigious school. It's like part of the whole spy thing or whatever. And they had to like pass these entrance exams and there's just this monstrous amount of pressure. And as I'm watching this anime, as we're laughing, I'm thinking, that is reality.
That's what it's
for
like.
some kids. Like that is their reality. They have these expectations placed on their heads
unbelievable.
from very young ages by their parents. And then we wonder why the depression rate in teenagers or tweens or even younger in elementary school is even high.
They're getting burned out at such young ages. But kids' lives have never been so scheduled like they are now. It's before school, it's after school, it's all the athletics and dance and gymnastics.
Are you wearing
and
the
this
right
club
clothes?
or
Do you
this
have the right
and
brand? Do you have the right look? Do you have,
everything?
I don't
all
feel like
the
kids get to go
time.
through an awkward stage anymore.
Do
Have
they
you
get-
noticed that?
Oh, where are those
I do
awkward,
not feel as
gangly,
though
like
Gen Z has hit an awkward stage at all.
they are not going to have
No.
the benefit of having those fun photos.
I'm going
pull
to
out and
post
laugh,
a
so.
photo of me during my awkward stage. It's fun. The comments that I've gotten from my children are like, "Oh, sorry." Like, "Oh, I don't mean to laugh at you,
may
Mom."
be able, because there's very few photos of me in existence from then.
Yeah.
But somebody just showed me a yearbook that they had that I am in, and I will ask them to send me a
Nice.
photo, and I can share with you my awkward stage.
Yeah, I feel like we phased that out somehow. Like Gen Z is not, they don't have to deal with any. They
No.
literally just grow up with grace. Maybe it's such
how
high
does that
expectations.
happen?
I don't know.
Where's the gangly, awkward
Right.
in-betweeners? Because they're not.
They're not.
Even the preschoolers are looking hip and cool.
I know. I was not dressed that way when I was younger.
No.
I wore like pink and purple and Care Bear things and things with,
Like kids
don't know.
did.
yeah.
I miss kids being kids. Kids going outside, playing, running around the neighborhood, getting dirty.
And that's part of the thing with talking to your kids is, ask them, are you burned out from all these things?
Yes.
Do you enjoy being a part of all of this? Do you want to do all of this? Examine your motivations. Is this coming from something I want them to do that I wasn't able to do when I was younger?
Is it pressure driven?
Or is it something that because some kids do. Some kids are like, yes, I want to be a part of all of this. Great.
Yes.
Usually those are not the kids that deal with depression. They have just a drive about them and they just want to, and that's
and they're
great.
loving it.
That's
and
great.
Other ones, though.
checking in with your kids, I think, is huge on
Yes.
so many levels.
Yes.
And not just a quick, did you do your homework? Or did you get your chores done? Check
Really
in with them.
check in.
What
Like
made
you
you
would
smile
with
today?
somebody you care
Yes.
a great deal about. Check in with them like that.
And I found out you cannot just ask them, how was school, honey? Because first of
doesn't
all,
work.
they're not in school anymore, so
Fine.
their brain has shut off and they genuinely can't
Yes.
remember because they're like, I already finished that. Why are we talking about this?
Yeah. Done.
Yeah. And a lot of times, give them that space, give them that grace.
Yes.
I try really
They
hard
need that
to
unwind
allow my
time.
teenagers to have the space to explode if they need to to just be. And it is not easy and I do not get it right. I will just say that completely, that I do not get it right. But again,
But you keep
allowing
trying.
them to have, because where else do you have a safe space?
I know.
Where else?
Do you want
You
to go
can't show
home
your
after?
friends that. You can't
No.
show them at work. You can't do that at school. You can't do that, So, yeah, they're, and I quite often am like, why do my kids hate me so much? And then in my
they
right
don't.
logical mind, I'm like, oh no, they don't. They know that no matter what they do, I will never love them any differently, and I will never
You're
leave them.
safe for them to express.
And that's hard. You
it
guys,
is.
that's so hard as a mom. Like it is
It is.
so hard. And I find myself having to I lean on my husband a lot for that because I'm like a puddle on the floor. Like, I don't understand why their mission in life is to hate me and make me cry,
Oh.
And he's like,
Thank goodness for
that's
good
not,
guys like
that's
that.
not, that's not at all what it is. And so, yeah, but I feel like when kids that are younger are going through a depressive state, it's going to look like they're misbehaving. It's going to look like they're not listening. It's going to look like they're defying you. It's going to look like hyperactivity. How many people are being diagnosed with ADHD right now?
So just throw
and
some
it's
drugs at 'em.
really just they're either in a depressive state or they're overstimulated or understimulated. Ask them more questions than just giving them something
It
for their
could be
ADHD.
diet related.
Oh, very much. Very much. And so I do encourage parents to just
Research
really,
first.
yes, examine and try to figure out what is the motivation behind this behavior. Because
Yes.
there's always a motivation behind the behavior.
Oh, I agree completely.
Always. And most of the time, I would say 99% of the time, they are not being malicious. They are not out to get you.
absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
They are not.
yes.
We think they are. We're like, why
We
are our
take it
kids being
that way.
so crazy? But they're not.
Right.
And we look at ourselves. What's my motivation behind my behavior? What emotion is driving this right now? Because most of the time it's not logic that makes us act, in certain ways.
I know.
But it's emotion.
It
For
is.
me, like when I get sad or frustrated, it oftentimes comes out like anger.
Same with me. Everybody is like, you look like you are pissed off at the world.
Yeah.
Just why, don't. And I was always accused and punished for being mad because you look mad all the time. And I'm like, so then I tried to figure out what do I do with my face so I don't look mad, because I'm not mad. I'm just trying to hold it together.
Right.
I was thinking as we were talking with depression that bear in mind that there is that true clinical depression and that needs medical help.
Yes.
That is a legit medical concern, just like any other illness. There is no shame in it. The help is there for it. Reach out and get that diagnosed and make sure. Mine, all of a sudden, I had one doctor, thank you, Dr. Wright, that suddenly said, you are not clinically depressed. You are situationally depressed. If you were out of this environment and into something better, he goes, I believe things would get a lot better for you. And you know where I was at.
I do.
And to have a doctor say that to me, because everybody else was,
Distinguish between those two things is huge.
because everybody in my life just wanted me medicated so I'd be easier to deal with.
Of course.
And more cooperative. And I tried that route. And obviously it didn't fix anything because what was underlying it and the reason for that one was never addressed and didn't get resolved, which caused just a plunge into the darkest of darks and eating disorders and suicidal thoughts all the time. But man, my healthy fear at the time that, hell, there's this big old burning pit of fire. And if I did that, that's where I'm going to go. So at least I was afraid of it. So it stopped me.
Right.
But
yeah.
if somebody would have cared enough to have helped me to address that and make my environment healthier, my despair, my darkness, that depression wouldn't have gone to the depths that it did. So I think it is important to find out, are you dealing with a legit clinical depression versus a situational? Both of them need help just as badly, but it's very different care. Very different care. Medication's going to help on this side. It's not going to make this one better.
Right.
So it's finding out
Yep.
for sure, and then addressing those root causes the best that you can.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you brought up the medication. I have been on many, many different depression medications.
Yep. I've
And
run the gamut of all of them.
I don't do well on them at all.
I don't either.
They actually make me more suicidal. And
Flat.
yes, just numb. I don't have emotion then, and I
Yes.
don't know how to live life without emotion.
And then I found
so
out that's exactly what they want.
Yeah.
That means, and as far as they're concerned, that's successful, and that's exactly what it's supposed to do. It keeps you level. And I'm like,
right.
but that's not normal.
So for me, things like eating right, exercise, the things that I put into my mind.
Yes.
So I'm going to tell you the truth. When I've been struggling over the past couple months with this,
Yes.
I put on our podcast and I listen to it.
I
I seriously do. And then I just giggle and I'm like, oh yeah. Like I find us very funny.
I do too.
But I do. But you know what I'm saying? Like I choose to put that into my brain.
Love that you brought that up because people underestimate how important it is what you have on the radio, what you're watching on TV,
right?
The people that you allow in your space, all of those messages and words and stuff, they get inside. And for me, I cannot get immersed in news.
No,
especially
I don't watch news.
Political stuff. I don't want anything of, but more so for me because I have a son that's eminently going to be deployed. It terrifies me. Literally terrifies me. And I will tell you, I fight all the time with myself to keep myself from turning it on to find out the current state because A, I can't do anything about it. B, it's not going to change the outcome. My son has to go. But when I sit and think about it, when I say I am literally paralyzed at times, I mean that. Like I can't move. Like breathing at times is just, it sucks the air out of me because my mind immediately goes to what is this going to mean for my child?
Right.
What is he going to have to see? What is he going to have to do? And I'm like, it hasn't even happened, but I'm living in that world and it affects everything. And if you want to see me go down into my pit in a hurry, sit me down in front of World News and show everything that's going on.
Yeah, that's what they want.
Yes.
They want you to feel that way. They want you to stay in a state of panic, you know?
Yes.
And so
we're easy to manipulate when we're afraid.
right. So I find that a lot of my depression comes in when I have unmet expectations or failed expectations. And so talking about what you put in.
Self or from others?
Both.
Yes, I thought.
Both. Yeah. So when I watch things, I literally watch the same thing over and over again because I know the
Podcasts
outcome.
are great.
But like shows,
Oh,
right?
love it.
So if you look at like my Netflix thing, I have like 4 shows or 5 shows, depending on what I'm, into at that point. And I rewatch them over and over again.
Right.
Because I know what to expect. I know that it's a pleasant outcome. I
Yes.
know that it's like
safe.
wholesome content. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's not a bunch of negative. And then every once in a while I'll watch something new or a different thing,
But when you're in that frame of mind for whatever
I need
may
that
come of
comfort
it.
to just know, like, okay, I know how that's going to end. Because I find when my world that I'm living in is unpredictable, things are happening that are not expected. Things are going differently. Like, oh, another car is broken. Or,
yay.
Look at this. Like, for me, every time I touch technology, it breaks. I don't know why. I just have a huge skill at it. My husband loves it. But I mean, you hand me things and it breaks. I don't mean to. I try, but I just,
it happens.
But so life is always going to happen. There's always going to be things that are happening that you can't control.
Right.
And sometimes I just look around and I'm like, I need something that I can control. And then I put a show on and I'm like, I can control that. You know what I mean? Like, I know how that's going to go.
I love that you said that because I have recognized and understand now that everything for me, and this is just personally for me, my depression is all about control and the feeling that I have none.
Yes.
And that's what puts me in that pit. And that's why my eating disorder was so bad for so long because I had absolute control. Absolute and utter control. And I hung on to that tooth and nail when people tried to take that one away from me. Because I'm like, I'll have nothing then.
Yeah.
Literally have nothing. So I'm hanging on to something that was killing me so I wouldn't die.
Yep.
And it was all about, I just needed to feel like something in life was able to be, I'll even take managed.
Managed. That's a good word for it. Yeah.
I would absolutely have been willing to have taken that. And knowing now that that is the foundation of my problem areas, it makes it easier for me to recognize and head off when I see it heading that way. But it still happens. I know it's always going to be there, but
Right.
I'm learning some tools. I'm getting there. And our podcast is funny. I especially like the one about our life of crime.
I could watch that one over and over again.
I have.
But I think that we've kind of ended here on a good segue because our next episode is going to be about anxiety.
Yes.
And there is a difference between depression and anxiety. And I think that we've started to touch on that. And so I look forward to our conversation
Me too.
about that because that anxiety levels have risen higher than depression levels lately. It is,
There's a lot to
just
worry
running
over.
rampant. And so I look forward to that for our
I
next
do
conversation.
too. This is good stuff.
So join us next
Yes,
time.
please.
And please reach out to us. We are here. We would love to talk to you. If you just need somebody that understands, that's been there, and just will listen to you, we can grab a cup of coffee. We can come and hang out. You can come to our studio. We'll just spend time with you. We'll just be there with you. If you can't get out of your house, text. I know talking on the phone gives me anxiety, so text. But no, we are around. Make sure to look at all the resources that we have listed and watch all the videos that we are going to be having come out all month.
We're two people that mean that when we say that because we've both been there.
We do.
And we recognize how important it is to have somebody come alongside, and we are dedicated to come alongsiders.
Yep. And you are not alone. Your life is worth living. You are enough.
Yes.
And you are perfect just as you are. So hang in there because every day ends with a sunset and every day starts with a new sunrise. So one day you might be thinking, I can't do this. But you could wake up the next morning and you're like, oh, wait, yes, I can.
did it.
So it's all about this 24. What are you going to do with this 24?
And celebrate those little victories.
Yep. If
Another
you got out of
day
bed
and
today and
waking
that's
up.
what you did, we celebrate you.
Yes.
And if you are a rocket scientist and you invented rockets, we also celebrate
You too.
Okay, bye.
Okay. Bye.